Previously on balls.co.za.
Well, we got our eyes glued to the cricket streaming, and we really like to chat to Nick Mallett about things rugby. We thought, Nick, that you might be glued to the TV as well, watching the very tense final hour of the game.
Yeah, I've had my ear to the radio, actually, because I just managed to find a free day in my hectic schedule here, and it's I'm in a minus, and it's a beautiful day for the beach, so I've been back and forth to the car. But what are we, 8 down still?
8 down, about just over 10 overs to go. We got a bat out there. Dale Steyn having fisticuffs with Michael Clark. They're bowling hand-to-heads. It's getting tense out there. But Dale and Philander are sticking in, and wouldn't it be great if we can do another Adelaide on them, eh?
Absolutely fantastic, and what a great send-off to Graham Smith, who's had a brilliant career as our captain for the last, I'm not sure, 12 years, I think.
12. So, he came in as a youngster just at the turn of the millennium.
Yeah, so a gutsy performance from the rest of the team. He hasn't really been informed, but the rest of the team, it'll be a real demonstration of their respect for him, and already they fought a great fight, and it was pity that Faf and AB couldn't take it, maybe for these little extra 10 overs, because it's a bit tough if you're a tail ender now.
Yes. But Dale's looked like Dale's thoroughly enjoying it. I think they also owe one to, well, Graham is owed one. No one really is owed anything in the game. Hadris Viljoen from the Biz of High Fault Lines is in studio with us. But we remember, of course, Sydney, that last test when we won the series over there, but Graham had that broken finger, went out to bat and almost saved the test for us there, and we really were hoping that he would actually do it. It was a very gutsy, courageous knock. I'm sure you remember that, yeah.
I do remember it. He was, he's always been that, hasn't he? He wears his heart on his sleeve. He, he fronts up. He can be a bit chippy, and I think that's why a lot of people don't warm to him, but he's a competitor, and it's fantastic. You just the loyalty of his players and what Callis has said about him and Barcher and the rest of the team, obviously. But I remember that clearly. I remember him going out and with a broken hand, trying to stave off defeat. It was fantastic. We still won the series over there despite that loss.
Johnny, we don't need to get Gary Kirsten on board.
Yeah, just talk to Nick for everything.
Nick, we're going to send you another contract for cricket.
Hold on, Nick, now, if we could just shift over to the Oscar Pistorius trial and you're taking day 3, please.
Nick, did you play cricket at school?
He was, I think.
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, I actually played first-class cricket. I played for Oxford.
Oxford, yes.
You were one of those annoying people that got you were first team for pretty much everything. You were natural.
Cricket and rugby were my sports, but obviously rugby became started taking up more of the season. Instead of being 6 months and 6 months, back in those days. Even then, we were starting to train. The season was 8 months long, so you couldn't commit yourself to a cricket season. But I wasn't that good at cricket. I had fun.
So modest.
I'm just picturing one of these Aussies trying to sledge Nick Mallett.
I would love to. I would, if I could only be the same speed as Garth LaRue, I would have been a devastating fast bowler because I have the right temperament.
Yeah. Who was the other guy? Also, was it Dougal MacDonald? Was also an Oxford Blue? Was he Cambridge or why do I think about him there?
Dougal MacDonald was Oxford Blue in rugby, but he wasn't. He wasn't a great cricketer. He might have been a blue for surfing though. He was a great surfer.
Okay. Gee, there's a name to conjure with.
Yes.
That's the thing. And by the way, Jonathan Kaplan starts with us from Monday. A half an hour every Monday on Blade's show. That's on Monday mornings, 9:30 to 10. No holds barred. Won't be pulling any punches either. So whatever the issues around rugby, look out for Jonathan Kaplan live every Monday here with Blades on Mondays, and he'll be talking about the big refereeing debate. There's always a lot over a weekend.
There really is. It'll be nice having him, being so forthright. It'll make a change from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, Nick.
Yeah, you're right.
So now, just on the rugby, I'm looking at it, and we spoke to Victor yesterday, and he said a couple of interesting things. One of them that wasn't expecting to play 80 minutes in his last game, and France played him the whole game, so that's not something he was expecting. He then also said to us that he will not be able to play as regularly a full season. He said he's just not up to playing a full season. Yeah. And I look at that and I go, put the Bulls in the same category as the Lions when it comes to depth. I think they're short on depth. I think the Lions, we'll find out later in the season, will be short on depth. The Cheetahs, I think, are going to be short on depth. And I think Province are short on depth as well. So with 4 teams that are probably haven't got enough personnel to go all the way here, I'm leaving the Sharks out because I think they have. Why are we looking for another team in Super Rugby?
Well, I mean, obviously there are political reasons for that, Darren. I think that there's been a promise made a few years ago to the Kings that they would have Super Rugby, and obviously they rushed into it last year, and it wasn't well thought out. And they hadn't really had any Currie Cup experience. It was very hard for Solly to recruit players because he wasn't given any guaranteed tenure in Super Rugby. It was only in and out, and there was a playoff game, etc. Now what's happened is that they've negotiated, obviously from 2016, that Kings will be in the competition, and also they've been guaranteed 2 years in the A section of the Currie Cup. So whoever's involved with coaching there can go and approach players and say, listen, there's a career here, and PE is a viable option. I think obviously the key is to try and retain your top black talent from Eastern Cape, which is a very, very strong breeding ground for top young rugby players. Dale and Queens and are particularly strong. Selborne, that whole Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth area has been a very strong black rugby
nursery.
Stronghold. Nursery, exactly. And Kolisi came out of there, and obviously the Ngani twins were from Border, I think. So if they could get a team that was showcasing as much of our young black talent as they could, as well as being strengthened perhaps by a couple of Free State pops and a few big locks, they might that'll be great for South African rugby.
But can't we showcase it and just say, look, let's get them in the Currie Cup and let's play them, put them in the Currie Cup and showcase it for 2-3 years, let them get a bit of time up at that level before throwing in a 6, because remember, they're not going to be able to call on some of those Lions players that they might have called on last time, so the pool is thinner.
I've got a feeling that there's going to be a real shake-up to Super Rugby, and that people were talking about 4 conferences, which will be disappointing because I think we need to play against Australia and New Zealand as often as possible at the Super Rugby level so that our players are properly prepared for test matches against them. But it looks like they were thinking about having two franchises in Australia and New Zealand, and 2 franchises comprising 6 South African teams and perhaps 2 Argentine teams. So, if we start playing against each other regularly again, it's going to be back to the era in apartheid where we just, we get into bad habits playing each other and we don't learn from other people. And that's the key to rugby is to keep learning from other teams.
And Nick, your thoughts on it will never happen, I don't think, but breaking away from Super Rugby and perhaps going to play in the Northern Hemisphere?
I think that would only be possible if the Northern Hemisphere accept to play rugby in summer. Because it's they're tied in with various television contracts to the Six Nations, to the Heineken Cup, and to their local leagues. And for us to we can't play 12 months of the year, so we need a season for 9 months. And what would make sense is if players could have November, December, and January off all over the world, But to try and explain that to an English television executive who needs the Six Nations, needs the Heineken Cup, and needs the viewership over that time, which is very quiet in Europe, is going to be very complex and complicated. But that's the IRB have set up they've set up a committee to look into that, and I think it'll be further down the line, maybe in 4 or 5 years' time. But it would be ideal if the players were able to get 3 months off, completely away from rugby, with 6 months break and 6 weeks break and six weeks preparing properly for a season.
All right, Nick. Now talk about the Stormers' new signing.
Yeah, I think, what is his name?
There we go.
I was just angling at that there. Yeah, Taki Bao.
Taki Bao, yeah.
Taki Bao. Yeah.
Listen, there are a couple of question marks. He was a great player, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's 33 years old. So, and I don't think he was starting for London Irish. So he's a big, strong guy, and he's had a very good international career. And when I remember watching him he was a devastating attacking player for London Irish about 3 or 4 years ago. But, for London Irish to release him, I would say that he's not, as I said, he's not in their starting lineup. So you've just got to be careful that he doesn't take the place of local players. There's a young guy, Van Wyk, who needs to learn. He's a young guy, 21 years old. He's made some good breaks already, and he just needs to learn to link up with his outside backs. And then you've got, obviously, Aplon, and you've also got Colby coming back. I mean, so to have a guy who's going to take their place, especially with 33 years old, is not ideal.
I think those two are going to be two of the most exciting players this year. I really look forward to seeing them develop as well. Because they went down this road with Sorelli Nakalavuki as well. And exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're a Stormers fan, and there wasn't a lot of compliments about him. I don't know why they actually went down that road.
He cost us the Curry Cup one
and
year,
why they're doing it again.
Well, it's all very well them getting outside backs, but the outside backs never get the ball. So you can sign, Julian Sevier as your right wing, but if you're not going to play a game which, from first phases, at least gives the winger an opportunity to take on his opponent on a one-on-one basis, which the Stormers haven't done for 3 years, then basically he's going to be chasing up and unders and catching up and unders because, it's been very, very disappointing watching the way the Stormers have played. They managed to score with a rolling maul and beat the Highlanders last weekend. But the attacking play has regressed over the last 3 or 4 seasons simply because they are so fixated with the defensive game. And they've got in Jacques Nienaber, probably one of the top defensive coaches in the world. But I think that Alistair could see really, he listens to him and he respects him. And they managed to get a lot of success out of a defensive game plan. But as I said, if you get in great outside backs, and if you're wanting to win the competition, let me be clear, you've got to be able to defend and attack. And, they haven't shown yet that they can attack with their backs.
Yeah, and you actually just echo, we spoke to Tox van der Linde on Hugh Bladen's show on Monday, and you basically just echo what Tox said, and he says that he's pretty disappointed with how they're playing at the moment, and there just seems to be 15 individuals on the park at the moment, and they're not really gelling.
There's a little bit of lack of confidence there. They've, you need a very physical pack and an absolutely outstanding kicking game and a great defensive game to win. Playing that sort of no risks rugby, and it was successful under Heineke Meyer with the Bulls. And I think given that Heineke Meyer can get the best players in the whole of South Africa, it has been successful last year with the Springboks, but. When you have a Super Rugby side and you've got Rhodes and Karitsa and who was the lock, Elstead, I think it was, playing last weekend, those are the guys who've played lock. And they haven't got Becker and they haven't got Etzebeth, and they've got, reasonably young front row with Scarron Tabeni, who's a ball carrier and a runner, not really a scrummager. Berger coming back, that pack is not dominating anymore, and you looked at the way that the Lions, they fronted up really well against them. So if you play that negative game plan with a pack that's playing 60% of the ball and a goal kicker who's not knocking it over all the time, then it's not easy to win games. Yeah. And just remember too, that, and I'm speaking obviously from a television point of view and a spectator point of view, we must provide entertainment, good entertainment, because we want people to go to the stadiums and get excited. And I don't get too excited by a driving maul, but I get excited by seeing some of the All Blacks backlines and the way in which their teams attack. And we need to be very aware of that as coaches in this country and also, as captains of teams.
You don't like a driving maul when it's like gaining momentum and heading towards the goal line? That doesn't excite you?
To be honest, I think it's legalized obstruction.
Well, it is, because you can't really defend against it.
No, it's in the rule book. We happen to be very good at it. Particularly the Bulls are very good at it. The Springboks are very good at it, and the Stormers are very good at it. But and I think the Sharks will become very good at it with the pack that they've got. But to be honest, you win a ball in the line out, you transfer the ball to the back, and you have 6 guys in front of the ball carrier, literally so manhandling of the opponents out the way so that the guy at the back can flop over the line. Now, I personally don't think that that's too attractive to watch. And secondly, I do think it's obstruction because if you pull them all down, it's a penalty. If you come in from the side, it's a penalty. So how do you get to that ball carrier, at the back? It's just very, very complex. And so we must be a little bit careful because so many teams have concentrated on that as almost their sole the team's sole way of scoring a try. We don't take risks. We get penalties, kick it out in the corner, driving maul and score. So we've got to try and make sure that our backline skills match Australia's and New Zealand's if we're going to, try and win the World Cup in end of next year.
I've been trying to watch the cricket in various ways today. One of them was watching it on Twitter, because I see if there's no tweets where it says wicket, then I know we're just going. The best way ever is to be able to sit and talk rugby to Nick Mallett while you're watching the overs go down, because now, Nick, there are only 7 overs and 5 balls left, and we're still 2 wickets
now.
now.
I've got to talk for 45 more minutes.
Jeez, that's a warm-up for you. That's easy.
I can see you yawning away there.
No, not at all. That's fascinating.
At least the cricket's exciting.
Fascinating. I'm looking at the number of overs and balls remaining. I'm looking on a computer screen. I'm not even watching the footage. Just seeing those overs come down.
Well, Vernon Philander's just gone to his 50.
Well done, Vernon. Jeez.
Well, I tell you.
Yeah.
I think it's more important that he spent whatever it is. Must be close to 2 hours at the crease. I mean, that's what's going to count. We're not going to get the runs.
No, actually, Vernon's knock has actually been fairly rapid in the context of the game. It's 51 of 96 balls, so he's not.
And Dale Steyn's 1 of 37.
1 of 37. That's the key one there for us. You just
anchor roll.
That's the boycott innings that we like.
There we go. Nick, always great to chat to you. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and we'll catch up with you again soon. All right.
Thanks, Nick.
Cheers, Nick.
Bye. Nick Mallett talking, once again, making sense rugby-wise.
Balls.co.za